Okay, let's go back to the phone lines at 617-830-4750. We will go to our caller from the 336 area code. Who's calling today from 336?
Uh, Hi, David. My name's Ricardo. 336. I'm from Winston-Salem, but I'm a university student in Charlotte, North Carolina.
All right, very good, Ricardo. What's on your mind today?
So I know you've been talking a lot about Venezuela recently, and I just want to touch back on the topic. So a lot of people on the left, even on left-wing YouTube channels like Secular Talk, Humanist Report, Rational National, they are like argue for that the U.S. is backing a coup because, of course, they talk about like Elliot Abrams and his horrible past, and like many other things are the history of the United States, and also John Bolton's push for regime change in Iran, well, what he wishes to have. But
Mm-hmm.
I just want to ask you, like, how would you rebut the left wing's concern on a coup, or they actually believe there will be a coup? That's what they believe in without the necessary evidence. And how would you also rebut Russian media? Because I've been watching reports from RT and Sputnik, and I don't really trust them. I just want to get a Russian perspective, but they're very pro, oh, the U.S. has had a little coup without necessary evidence.
Okay, so I wouldn't even worry about rebutting Russian state media. I mean, there's a sort of triumvirate or a hydra that includes Russian interests in Syria, Russian interests in Venezuela, and Russian interests in meddling with American elections. And we know what they're doing. We know what their positions are. I mean, I'm no more interested in rebutting RT on the issue of Venezuela than I am on rebutting Venezuelan state media. Wow, I'm shocked. Venezuelan state media says Maduro's great and everything is, waterfalls and rainbows. I'm not super interested in that. I think the first thing you mentioned is more interesting. Now, I don't know what any of those shows you mentioned have said because I don't really watch anything. I just mostly read. So I think that anyone who is making the case that Elliot Abrams' involvement in Latin America is bad for Latin America is right. I agree with that. Anyone who is making the case that the United States should not be involved in deciding who is ultimately the president of Venezuela is right. I agree with that. Anyone who is making the case that the United States involvement in Latin America has been a disaster for those countries and serves as evidence for opposing such involvement in Venezuela, I'm right there with them. And then I would say Maduro needs to go. Maduro is an authoritarian. The economy has been in free fall since before American sanctions were instituted, since before the decline of oil prices, which are the two sort of talking points that are most common from some people on the left. If it weren't for that decline in oil prices, if it weren't for American sanctions, the decline in Venezuela long predates that. Maduro has to go. There are too many similarities to Castro in Cuba, who I also believed was an authoritarian and undeniably is. And that's sort of where I am on it.
See, I agree with you a lot, but there's still a lot of people on left wing channels. So I know you don't have the time to see left wing channels, but what they're arguing is that since, of course, like Elliot Abrams, in the guise of aid, he sent actually weapons to help, assume like Contras in Nicaragua. They're arguing without necessary evidence that the U.S. aid that the United States is trying to transfer to Venezuela actually has weapons or something to lead a coup. But again, there's no evidence to that. But of course, many left wing channels argue that without the evidence. And they also are, like you've already talked about, been criticizing Bernie. And I don't think they're really changing their position. So I don't know what, because a lot of people are really onto this. And I don't know how they change their opinion because I don't feel like they don't really care about the evidence on
Yeah,
that.
they don't care about the that's actually the problem. That there's a lot of people who there. It's unfortunately there's this sort of litmus test politics that is unfortunately happening I mean, it's been happening on the right for a long time, but it's also happening on the left where you're basically ostracized if you don't sort of toe the line when it comes to certain issues. And Venezuela has become one of those where there's very little room for sort of dissenting voices. They're immediately called neoliberal shills or whatever. And, you know, we sort of need a multi-layered thought when it comes to this. And I don't know that you're really going to change anyone's minds. I don't know that I would try to.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Really appreciate the call. Thank you.